Welcome back to Sova Says, Cincinnati's NFL Power Ranking Show. I am your host, Ryan Sova Yunt. You can follow me on Twitter with the same handle at Ryan Sova, at Ryan _Sova _Yunt. We'll tell you that story about what Sova means on another date. I hope everyone had a fun week too. I know for Bengals fans, and if you're on the Wincy channel and a faithful subscriber, you're most likely a Bengals fan, and wasn't the result we were looking for, wasn't the result we wanted. So we will have a lot to talk about when it comes to Cincinnati's new position in our power rankings. Last week, we talked about week one was a reflection of teams, a lot of teams facing divisional kryptonite, which was teams that played other teams that, necessarily weren't as good as the other one, but always seemed to have that other team's number. Now going into week three, we've got 2 weeks of data to sift through. And are these teams, to quote Denny Green, are these teams who we thought they were? I don't know. We're getting a pretty good picture. And I think week three, after having 3 weeks, you will know what these teams are. So if your team falls to 0-3, it's not looking good. It's not, insurmountable by any stretch. But what you're looking at is a team that is going to have a hard time week in and week out. So having said that, let's go to the power rankings and look at what we are discussing here after 2 weeks and where these teams lie. So another tough loss, the Carolina Panthers. We have a new team at number 32 who have dropped one spot. The Carolina Panthers are 0-2. It was always going to be a tough year with Bryce Young and a young team sort of hopefully on the rise, but definitely paying their dues, and they're going to take their lumps. 0-2 after a loss to the Saints. They drop one spot. The Arizona Cardinals, they are 0-2, but they actually moved up a spot. They were up 20-0 at halftime on the Giants, and they've shown a lot of promise. Josh Dobbs has been able to maneuver the offense and actually had a pretty good game on Sunday, but a pretty big collapse in the second half. But Arizona, despite the loss, moves up one. Chicago, 0-2. They moved 2 spots down to our number 30 spot. I thought we would see a lot more from the Bears. I thought we would see a lot more from Justin Fields. He was the most dynamic fantasy quarterback last year, the second half of the season. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing the translation of adding DJ Moore into that offense. Chicago, you got to show us something quick. 0-2. If the hole starts to get any deeper, it's going to be tough to get out. The Lions are a good team. The Vikings can be a good team. We'll talk about them as well. And Green Bay just seems to always be competitive. So the Bears at number 30, dropping 2 spots, they're 0-2. The Texans, they're the rare team so far this season for us in the power rankings. Despite a loss each week, they've moved up one spot in the rankings. And that's more of just showing a competitive team going out every week, and combine that with teams that we just thought were going to be a lot better having to move behind them, so it allows the Texans to come up. Because I have more faith in what DeMeco Ryans is doing and CJ Stroud's play at quarterback than what we're seeing from the 3 teams behind them. So they check in at number 29. Number 28, the Denver Broncos. What a wild game to lose that on the Hail Mary and then failed 2-point conversion. They drop 1 spot. This is more of a reflection, I think, of us knowing exactly who they were kind of coming into the year. Danger Russ isn't the guy that he was in Seattle. For whatever reason, Sean Payton hasn't got them to click yet. Sean Payton's a very talented coach, so I could definitely see a turnaround and things. Once his system becomes more ingrained in the players, they could turn things around. But right now, despite 0-2, to think the Broncos have lost each week and then dropped 1 spot each week, I think that's more of an assessment of we were right on when it came to the Broncos. Let's move down. The Indianapolis Colts move up 2 spots after their win. Hopefully, Anthony Richardson is healthy. He looked electric on his touchdown run. The Colts move up 2 spots to 27. We'll see how they continue to rise or hover in these late 20s. The New England Patriots dropped 4 spots after falling again, this time to the Miami Dolphins. They've opened the season. Now, in all fairness to the Patriots, they've opened the season with 2 very good teams, 2 teams in our top 3 at this point. So what New England's had to overcome is a very difficult schedule, and they played a division foe on Sunday night and dropped one to the Miami Dolphins, but did not look as good as they did in week 1. So they fall to 0-2, and they fall 4 spots to our number 26 team. The Tennessee Titans. Last week, we talked about the huge questions at quarterback and how Ryan Tannehill isn't that guy coming off that loss. Man, they gut out a very big win against a team that we like a lot here in the Los Angeles Chargers. Despite the Chargers record, they're like the Patriots. We'll get to them later, but they've had a very brutal start to their schedule. The Tennessee Titans, with the win, move up 1 spot. Despite beating a team that we like, only moving 1 spot has a lot to do with trust. And we're going to talk about trust here a lot today. We still don't trust Ryan Tannehill going forward. So what we've given us through 2 weeks are uneven performances, but not a lot of trust that they're sustainable to be on the positive side of the ball. So what happens is Tennessee moves up to 25 after the win. You're moving forward, but it's not probably as big of a leap as Titan fans would have hoped, despite beating a pretty good team. Tennessee just don't have the faith yet in Ryan Tannehill to continue to kind of keep this up. So they only move up 1 spot. They land at number 25. The New York Giants, we talked about their win a little earlier over the Arizona Cardinals. What a second half. What a comeback. But that was the Arizona Cardinals. We should have seen that for 2 halves. So despite the win, the Giants stay in place and remain at number 24. Look, a win is a win in the NFL, but to play a team that you should have been far superior to, and we will see how the injury to Saquon Barkley plays out this week. There's a couple really big injuries in the NFL that we need to monitor, and that will sort of play into the power rankings here. The Giants is one of them with Saquon Barkley. They get a win. They improve to 1-1 to get a very important win in the first 3 weeks, and hopefully Saquon Barkley, if he's going to be out an extended period of time, it isn't as long as, it isn't very long at all. 23, the Minnesota Vikings. They drop their game on Thursday night to the Philadelphia Eagles. They fall to 0-2. Turnovers and bad plays in crucial moments are crushing this team right now. We were really hoping to see something better from the Minnesota Vikings. We sort of expected to see something better. They fall 4 spots this week to the number 23 spot. They're in a competitive division, and we've got to see more from Minnesota, or they're going to end up hovering around the late 20s. These are our 2 biggest falls of the week here now on your screen. The Bengals at 0-2 drop 11 spots after falling at home to the Ravens. Now, Bengals fans, some portion of the fan base are going to say, look, we've been here before. We've been 0-2. We've lost our first game to Baltimore and Cleveland before and still went to the AFC Championship. That's absolutely true. However, what they did historically for their franchise, the remainder of the season had never been done before for them to come back and win the division and run through the playoffs before falling in the AFC Championship game. One of the biggest reasons that this year feels different from last year is the injury to Joe Burrow's calf, and he re-aggravated it on Sunday late in the 4th quarter on a touchdown drive. He says it was before the throw. He definitely was grimacing on the throw to T. Higgins for the touchdown. Things feel different because of Joe Burrow's injury. And, last year was a healthy Joe Burrow after the surgery all through the season. I mean, other than, some minor nicks. We don't know yet how he's going to respond. Now, as we are taping this Wednesday morning, we don't know if he's going to practice. They get the extra day because they play the Rams on Monday Night Football. So that's going to be crucial in his recovery. But, if he can't be the guy that he normally is, you being elusive with his legs and buying extra time, making the first guy miss in the pocket, they're going to struggle. They're going to continue to struggle. Now, what they did in the second half, more like the end of the third quarter and fourth quarter, was more of what we expect from them and sustained drives and touchdown scores. They went 6 quarters without scoring a touchdown to start the season, which is, for a team with aspirations of being a top 5 offense, that's just not what we got out of them early on. So the Bengals fall to the 22 spot, 11 spots, our second biggest fall. Pittsburgh moves up 4. They beat the Cleveland Browns. Big win on Monday night that was anchored by a couple of defensive scores. And that's what this Pittsburgh team's going to need to do. Their offense and their quarterback play is going to be up and down all season. But when their defense can put points on the board, and 2 touchdowns is huge, they're going to be tough to beat. That's why I had them moving up 4 spots, because while it was a huge win over a good team in Cleveland, I still don't trust their quarterback and their offense. We'll see how that plays out this weekend. The Jets, our biggest fall, and although this was the first loss of the season for them, they fall 13 spots to the number 20 position in our power rankings. The biggest now they lost by double digits. That's by 20 points to Dallas, which is, Dallas is a tough team, as you'll see and you'll find later on in the show. This is about Zach Wilson, and this has a lot to do about the trust going forward. So as we projected the Jets to start the year, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. This is a top 5 team with that defense. This isn't the Jets of old. Now that the injuries happen and Zach Wilson is back in at quarterback, this is a team that looks like they're ready to draft in the top 10 again. Zach Wilson threw 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter on Sunday, and those types of things are going to kill the Jets every single week. If they can't find some decent quarterback play out of Zach Wilson, they've only got a couple weeks to then maybe scour the free agent market, maybe try and convince TB12 to come back. They're going to fall, and they're going to stay down in the bottom of the rankings. They're going to give teams hell because they play really good defense, but their quarterback is going to break their backs in the most crucial of moments. That's why they dropped 13 spots to number 20. My trust in them is very low at this point. The Los Angeles Raiders, they fall to 1-1. They drop 3 spots. The Raiders, I still have some trust in them, but at 1-1, we'll see who they are. I still like Jimmy Garoppolo with McDaniels. We'll see what happens there. Now, a team that we talked about the very first week about not having any trust at the quarterback position and at the head coaching spot. Look, they're 2-0. That's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who move up 5 spots to number 18. This is the lowest ranked of the undefeated teams because of my trust issues with their quarterback and their head coach. But look, I have to admit, what they're doing right now is everything they need to be doing, and that's hanging W's on the board and scoring points and playing defense. The Buccaneers at 2-0, they are one of 3 teams in the NFC South that are unbeaten through the first 2 weeks. So we'll find out who the Buccaneers are going forward. They are our number 18 team. The Los Angeles Rams played the 49ers on Sunday. They fall to 1-1. So they drop 2 spots to number 17. Matthew Stafford has had sort of an up and down first 2 weeks, but man, they have found 2 rookies on offense at running back and at receiver that are going to make them dangerous. And if they can continue to evolve their rookie year, the Rams, they're going to have a chance to be in the thick of things and win the wild card when we start looking at wild card spots later in the year. They fall 2 spots to number 17. Green Bay takes a couple 2 steps back after their loss. Dramatic loss here for the Packers. Jordan Love, kind of a mixed bag here, but 2 spots down, just falling to the Atlanta Falcons, who are undefeated. Not the worst loss, so they only dropped 2. The Chargers, they lose week 1 to Miami, and then they fall to Tennessee. Out of the 0-2 teams right now, the Chargers have played they've played the best in both those games. So they're going to be ranked ahead of some of these 1-1 teams who still have some question marks. Look, the Chargers have questions if they're 0-2, and their defense needs to make plays. Their quarterback is playing his heart out. Justin Herbert's looked very good. They didn't have Austin Eckler this week, but it didn't really seem to matter. The offense was still playing at a pretty high level. But the Chargers, they dropped 2 spots to our number 15 spot. At this point, they're a middle-of-the-road team. But you know what? With Justin Herbert, there's always a chance for them to turn things around real quickly. Now, let's get to the Cleveland Browns. They fall on Monday Night Football to the Steelers. They fall 4 spots to our number 14 spot. They are 1-1 on the season. The Nick Chubb injury is crucial. It is huge. He's done for the year after tearing his knee up on Monday night. Deshaun Watson did not look good. Again, did not have a good week. They won despite him with the running game the previous week. Well, Nick Chubb's no longer here to save that team, and their defense still plays really well. The Steelers did not move the ball much on offense. They were helped by 2 defensive touchdowns, which we mentioned earlier. But if Deshaun Watson is going to continue to play like he has the first 2 weeks, this team is not going to be able to hang around the top 15 of this league. They're probably going to be who the Browns typically are, and that's a team that's ranked in the mid-20s by season's end. Kareem Hunt was brought back this year, but without training camp and preseason, it may take a few weeks to get his legs completely under him. We'll see how things go for Cleveland. But after a big win week 1, they lose a couple of things bad. They lose their star running back, Nick Chubb, for the year, and they lose a divisional game to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's why they are our number 14 team. The Seattle Seahawks, big win, big comeback win against the Detroit Lions. They move up 5 spots to number 13. This is a team that, we had high hopes for going into the year. The first loss to the Rams week 1 was tough, but a big win against the Detroit Lions team riding high off the win versus the Chiefs, and with an extra 3 days to prepare, that for us quantifies as a very big win for Seattle. That's why they are a big mover, coming up 5 spots to number 13. This next group is going to be full of teams that, there are some big risers in here. Let's start with the Atlanta Falcons, who move up 8 spots to number 12. The Desmond Ridder, Bijan Robinson, Jesse Bates-led Atlanta Falcons. I think they started the season for us in the rankings around 25. There wasn't a lot to go on, but we knew that with Bijan, they were going to have a home run threat at all times. But I think their defense has played well. I think things are finally starting to click for Arthur Smith in this offense, even though Kyle Pitts is still not the guy we thought that he was going to be. And for whatever reason, whether that's the offense or the quarterback's lack of faith in getting him the ball, whatever it is, it's still working. Despite that, the Atlanta Falcons are 2-0. They move up 8 spots. So great to see the Atlanta Falcons where they are. Detroit, they only moved down 2 spots. Huge win week 1 again on Thursday. And look, they were in control for the majority of that game on Sunday before the Seahawks came back. And then Detroit made it a ball game late. They're still playing hard. Now, I think their head coach, if he was in a room alone with the other coaches, he may admit that he could have coached a better game and could have made better decisions out there that maybe affected the outcome of some of those drives. But they only fall 2 spots. They fall to a Seahawks team that we feel pretty good about here. And so they fall out of the top 10, but not far. They're still at number 11. The Washington Commanders up 11 spots. They got that big win over the Denver Broncos, trailed late, and then came back and took the lead, and then had to hold off Russell Wilson late. But Eric Bieniemy deserves a lot of credit for what the Commanders are doing on offense. He left an MVP quarterback behind. He left a an alien behind that quarterback to come coach Sam Howell and teach this Washington Commanders offense how to move the ball. And I know in the preseason and in training camp, there was a lot of, negative publicity about maybe the head coach didn't have his back and the players were complaining about Eric Bieniemy's style of play. Well, you know what? You guys are 2-0. You are the number 10 overall team in our power rankings. So something clicked and something's working. The defense was always going to be a strength, and they continue to be. Chase Young had a really good game on Sunday, so it's great to have him back on the team and healthy. And the Washington Commanders up 11 spots to number 10. The New Orleans Saints, a team that we liked a lot early, they move up 8. They are 2-0. They take care of business in the division. Derek Carr has been the influence that they need on that team. And Chris Olave continues to make big plays each week. Had another great catch on Sunday. The New Orleans Saints move up 8 spots to the number 9 spot. So they cracked the top 10 for the first time. They're 2-0. We'll see how things continue to progress in the NFC South. They are the highest ranked of those 3 undefeated teams in the NFC South. The Jacksonville Jaguars at number 8, despite their loss, they stay put. There's not a lot to complain about when you lose to a team like the Chiefs. I still have lots of faith in what they're doing in the first half. That game was ultra close. And, despite Kelsey and company kind of getting things going in the second half, that's still a tough team. The Jaguars played hard. Despite the loss, they stay at the number 8 spot. All right, here's another nice riser. Buffalo Bills, after a really tough loss and some really tough play at quarterback week 1, they rise 5 spots. They jump back into the top 10. They are our number 7 team with a 1-1 record. They take down the Las Vegas Raiders in pretty dominant fashion. That game was over midway through the second quarter. Josh Allen got it going again. The Buffalo Bills defense played like a Buffalo Bill defense that we have trust in. So nothing to see there that makes us doubt, anymore that they're back at a level of a contender for us. The Dallas Cowboys. Now, the rest of this is going to look the same here. The Dallas Cowboys, they win big. They take out the Jets. They move to 2-0. They remain at number 6. Kansas City, they win. They move into the winning column for the first time. They stay where they're at number 5. The Baltimore Ravens, they went into Cincinnati. They got a big, big win despite some injuries. You really have to give Baltimore their flowers for that win on Sunday. Cincinnati made it a game late and Baltimore needed a Lamar Jackson run on 3rd down to finally ice it late. But that Baltimore felt like they were in control for the majority of the second half until Cincinnati got things going on offense. And that was without 2 key starters, maybe their 2 best defensive backs on defense, and without their 2 best offensive linemen. And look, they kept Lamar Jackson clean. Now, I know he was able to break the pocket at times and keep plays alive with his feet and led to some big runs. But that was a Bengals pass rush that looked pretty good week 1 and should have been able to dominate on Sunday without Linderbaum and Stanley in there, and they did not. So Baltimore steps up in a big way. They move to 2-0, and they remain our number 4 team. Miami, they remain at number 3 after going 2-0. They go into New England on Sunday night, and they beat down the Patriots. They get to 2-0. Miami is a team that's going to be a problem every week for defensive coordinators, and they just continue to show it. Tua, what a great record against Belichick so far to start his career. So Miami is our number 3 team. They come in at number 2. Philadelphia takes care of business. They handle the Vikings on Thursday night. DeAndre Swift with a career best game, 175 yards for DeAndre Swift. The Philadelphia Eagles have turned into the Denver Broncos of the 90s, where it's just plug and play. The next running back comes in and they get career highs in yardage. Nothing to complain about from Philadelphia here. They got the turnovers they needed. They ran the ball at absolute will. Now, Jalen Hurts still hasn't looked like an MVP candidate through 2 weeks, but when you're able to run the ball and call, I think at one point they called 8 straight runs. When you're doing that, they're going to be successful. And when they're doing it really well, they're going to beat teams. They're going to wear teams down, and they're going to continue to stay put in the power rankings and move up in the win-loss column. And at number 1, the San Francisco 49ers, 2-0, took care of business against the Rams in a little bit of a dogfight and pulled away late. Brock Purdy's that guy. Kyle Shanahan's obviously that guy. Their defense gets it done every single week. They are a team that doesn't look like they're going anywhere. They continue to be our number 1 team. And so after 2 weeks, we know who these teams are. We have some data. We have, everyone says week 1 is a liar and week 2 tells you what teams really are. I think after 3 weeks, I think the 3rd week is going to be the most important, because you have 1 week to have maybe a letdown and see some things that were uncharacteristic of what you're going to see. And then, that's why you have some of these mixed bag 1-1 teams. Don't really know what we have out of them yet. So after 3 weeks, when we come back next week and talk about these things, we are going to be able to tell you with pretty good confidence who these teams are. And I don't see a lot of movement coming from the top. I think those teams are going to be where they are, and they're going to continue to roll because they've beat all these teams have signature wins in the first 2 weeks. So that is the power ranking show for our week 3. I hope you guys had a good time. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to week 3 to show what it's going to have for us. Really looking forward to see how some of these injuries play out. We talked about Saquon Barkley. We talked about Joe Burrow. Hopefully we get some status updates real soon on those guys, and we get them back on the field, because obviously the league is so much better when the best players are out there and healthy. So thanks so much, everyone, for coming on and joining me. We'll see you next week.